The Prime Minister delivering his inaugural address to the United Nations Assembly today. And coming up in sports, a new basketball court for Ellen Copley High in Exuma. The Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. Good Saturday evening, Bahamas. I'm Charisma Robinson. Like always, it's great to have you joining us. Topping the news tonight, covering a range of topics, not only pertinent to the Bahamas, but the entire Caribbean. Prime Minister Perry Christie delivered his first national statement to world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly in New York today. Our Opal Roach is the only reporter from the Bahamas in New York and has more on the Prime Minister's address.
For a second time this week, the Bahamas takes a top spot at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. And in addressing the global arena, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie outlined issues of national concern. One of them is crime and the number of guns making it to our shores.
And to those countries that produce the guns that end up taking innocent lives and causing terror in our communities, we implore them to become more proactive in controlling the export of guns. We implore them to step up the policing of their own borders against arms traffickers. We therefore call for more robust surveillance and reconnaissance measures to be instituted. We have already the experience of the joint anti-drug operational activities with the United States of America. However, more resources ought to be employed in a region-wide effort to fight crime. In particular, we call for a massive increase in joint tactical operations so that more air and maritime assets can be consistently deployed so that the thousands of square miles that comprise the territorial waters of Caribbean states can be more effectively patrolled.
Now, another burden on the backs of the Bahamas is illegal migration. Prime Minister Christie reminded the General Assembly that we have been carrying this load for decades.
Of special note in this regard are migrants from Cuba. We believe that the policies rooted in the Cold War that largely account for this migration ought to be brought into alignment with the realities of the modern era. Our archipelagic nation, though comparatively small in population, covers a vast area. With our hundreds of islands, the opportunities for illegal migration are greatly multiplied. At a time when it is imperative that we invest in the education and health and future of our people, we are forced instead to devote an ever-growing share of our resources to the problems associated with illegal migration. We are concerned about the increasingly unsustainable costs that are being incurred and the resulting erosion in the quality of life for the citizenry of the Bahamas. Our country, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, simply does not have the financial resources and the infrastructural capacity, much less the psychological stamina, to endure this dilemma indefinitely.
Now, 4 decades ago, the Bahamas became a member of the United Nations, and at that time, Father of the Nation, the Right Honorable Sir Lyndon Pinling, delivered the country's statement to the General Assembly. Prime Minister Christie reflected on that moment.
Sir Lyndon's call for us to be faithful to the responsibilities of our nationhood and world citizenship is as relevant and compelling today as it was when we were welcomed into the family of the United Nations 40 years ago. As the present Prime Minister of the Bahamas, I have therefore come here today on behalf of the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to renew our pledge to play our part to help make our planet the place of peace and stability and of collaborative endeavor and mutual support that it was intended to be and must be for the good of all humankind.
Now, this is the second shining moment for the Bahamas this week at the UN. Just days ago, the Bahamas took a quantum leap in its efforts in creating a more disabled-friendly society. In New York, I'm Opal Roach, ZNS Network News.
And this programming note, you can watch a rebroadcast of Prime Minister Christie's address at the 68th regular session of the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow night at 7:30. In news from the police, a 16-year-old Bahamian male is in custody, assisting police with the investigation of the alleged rape of a 13-year-old girl and several other serious crimes, which were committed in New Providence over the past months. Authorities confirmed that the suspect will be charged for a number of serious offenses and taken to court early next week. We have some sad news to report from Eleuthera. Traffic officials from the capital on that island to investigate an overnight traffic fatality. Police confirmed that a motorcyclist identified to us by sources as Avian Morley of Rock Sound was traveling from Governor's Harbor Airport around 7 o'clock last night when he tried to avoid colliding with a truck traveling in a northerly direction by swerving off the road. The victim reportedly lost control of his motorcycle and crashed into a chain link fence some 500 feet from the airport terminal. He was pronounced dead at the scene by the local physician. The implementation of value-added tax is pending, but there are still some queries about it. Well, earlier this week, the Society of Engineers discussed the issue after a presentation by its president, Ishmael Lightbourne. One of the areas he focused on was the comparison between the current customs duty and tax and value-added tax.
For $100, you bring it in, that's your import value. That may end up on the shelf for what? $500, right? And so if you pay $15 at the border, 15% on $100, when you sell that, you have 15% on what? $500, $75. The difference, the $75 is what you call your output VAT. You've paid input VAT of $15. You take your $15 and you're happy with that, but you then have to account to the government for the remaining $60. That is on an item-by-item basis. That's the way it operates.
Lightbourne also shared what the tax will mean for evaluating profits.
Services are regarded as zero-rated, meaning if you have customers abroad, you don't bill them for VAT. That service or good that you supply abroad is zero rated. There's no VAT chargeable to the foreign customer who will be receiving your good or service. But in producing that good, you would have incurred VAT charges. All of that VAT charge is claimable. You can get a refund for that. And the difference with respect to export business, we don't exercise the 3-month rule because in the case of exports, they will always be in credit and they will always be reclaiming. So
over 100 nurses and healthcare professionals have advanced their careers after successfully completing some specialized courses by the Public Hospitals Authority. All accredited by the Royal College of Nursing in the United Kingdom, Public Hospitals Authority Managing Director Herbert Brown addressed the 111 graduates during a special ceremony at the Wyndham Nassau Resort Thursday evening and commended the group for such a significant achievement. Kendino Knowles reports.
The completion of these programs are particularly timely as we near the completion of the new state-of-the-art critical care block at the Princess Margaret Hospital in fulfillment of the government's mandate to expand and improve the quality of care and services we provide to the Bahamian people.
And speaking of the critical care block, health officials have expressed concerns about healthcare professionals being trained to properly and effectively run the new facility. It's something Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez is not fretting.
One of the concerns that we all have had in the profession is how are we going to staff this new fancy critical care block? Where's the talent coming from? The numbers and so on. Well, here you are. Let the country see. Here are the nurses, 17 new critical care nurses for the Bahamas. And this is the first class.
And while he's confident in the training these nurses have gotten, he admonished them to continue learning. This continued education, he says, will not only strengthen the nursing profession, but will begin to address key healthcare issues. This, he says, will also position the public healthcare system to deal with looming healthcare issues over the next few decades.
We're improving our product through the courses you all are doing and the courses that will be done over each year by other nurses. That's what it's all about, improving the quality of care so that when people as a nation start to pay for their health care, they want to see that they are getting the best service for their money.
Kendino Knowles, ZNS Network News.
When the weekend edition continues, Baintown residents learning how to cope with abuse thanks to the Bahamas Crisis Center. That story and more coming up.